Hello everyone, my name is Antonia Villa and this is my personal introduction and Module 1 presentation for EDL 951. I have two children, Yesenia who's 24 and Sean who's 23. Yesenia graduated from Fort Hays State University, moved back home and is one of our 6th grade teachers, as well as our head coach for cross country and track. Sean, he went on and moved on to Iowa. He sends us pictures of all the rain they receive and what he calls, "Mom, these are real trees." He does that probably every other day. I've worked in education for 26 years, 5 years at a 1-8 Oklahoma school and 21 years at USC 218 here in Elkhart. I'm currently the middle school principal, alternative high school principal, migrant director, McKinney-Vento liaison, foster care point of contact, KISA Alternative High School Building Chair, and I will say that throughout my 26 years, I've had 5 great superintendents. The following slides will consist of the 3 levels of government control in public education. We'll start with federal government. Our federal government provides at least 10% of our funding. Along with the funding, though, comes accountability. One of the examples is the No Child Left Behind. That was one of those things where, the accountability piece trickled down all the way to the teachers and all those test results and we had to show growth, and if we didn't, we had to find different ways to help or to help provide interventions. We didn't use the words interventions, I don't think, back then, but now we use those. The day-to-day operation of the school takes place at the local level. 4 basic functions for the federal government in public education are to oversee policies that relate to education funding. They take care of collecting data and research. They identify problems of education at the national level, and they help enforce the discrimination laws. State government. On average, the state provides for less than half of the school's operating cost. Our State Board of Education, I think, does a really good job of keeping us updated. I know that we receive emails with their updated policies, and we go through those policies at our board meetings. Our board-elect president, Art Gutierrez, I believe he's from Emporia. The duties of the state government are to provide and allocate for public schools, set state standards. They oversee special education, and they take care of the licensure part, and they take care of electing and appointing some of these local and state school board members. Local government, our school board, their duties are to oversee and develop school policies, adopt school budget, and allocate funds. They are in charge of hiring our superintendent. They provide direction when it comes to the adoption of our district curriculums. Negotiations, which is taking place right now next door, and they determine the policies for hiring our district staff. USD 218 School Board, they promote success and well-being of each student and adult by trusting in the superintendent and building administrators. Our school board is very supportive. They may not always agree with each other, but that's very normal, I'm sure. But they are very supportive of, I feel, of all the administrators of, of any new changes we bring up. They seem to, as long as it's for the best interest of the kids, they go for it. State school board policies are shared during board meetings. Sometimes I see that they try to go over them and try to understand them, and then they question each other on them, and then once they're approved, by the next day, you have our board clerk who comes and updates our board policy handbooks. What I've observed throughout our board meetings is I do notice that our board puts a lot of trust in our superintendent. When purchases need to be made, they listen and they also recommend other avenues if needed, and they allow the superintendent to do more research if needed. When the superintendent brings forth new curriculum and new technology purchases, our school board does take the time to visit with us administrators. They want to hear how we feel. And so our superintendent's really good about saying, don't forget, get yourselves ready, because they'll be asking you questions about the curriculum or the technology that we're wanting to purchase. We did bring in MTSS, and I do remember one of the board members saying, don't forget, they are coming from Eastern Kansas. Our school does look a little bit different than Eastern Kansas, so don't forget to advocate for the kids that we have here. When we administrators provide handbook changes, I like the way they go about this. Usually we provide them in July, and they don't just look at a piece of paper and approve it. They will question, why do you want to make that change? Do you think it'll make a difference? And so I like to be questioned. And it's not that they don't trust us, is that, they want to see, where's this coming from? And so I appreciate that in them. We do have a district board policy binder. I don't know, maybe 6-inch binder, maybe 5. I did have surgery last week, so I'm under I'm under some restrictions. I can't pick up a certain amount of weight, and I believe that binder weighs a lot. There are 13 sections in there, and as you can tell, I have sticky notes because this binder has been used. We have gone through it, and I appreciate my superintendent taking the time to help me, find some of our answers. This caught my attention, was the goals and objectives, and the board, it states that the board shall provide the best educational system possible within the financial limitations of the district. They do set different goals. We do have a new superintendent coming in July, so I'm looking forward to seeing how, what changes are to be expected for next year. There's nothing wrong with change. Here's another example of some of our information that's found in the board policy. And this one I felt was very important. It says, remember that the first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of the students attending the public schools. So really, that's a nice reminder there. It's not about their own personal children. It shouldn't be. And they do a really good job, honestly, of looking out for all children here at our school district. USD 218 superintendent, he leads change by forming committees. We have a committee for everything. He believes that the more that people know what's going on, communication is great. The more they'll buy into it, and they, it's because their voices are heard. We have the Wellness Committee, Curriculum Committee, Crisis Committee. We meet as needed. Sometimes these committees do meet at least once a month. And he does follow up if there's any changes that need to be made. Evaluations, principals go through the evaluations. Our superintendent does our evaluations, our administrators' evaluations. Curriculum matters are always ran through our district curriculum specialist and building principals, and then it's presented by the superintendent, or sometimes he has us present. When an issue arises, he makes sure that we refer to our board policy. As you could tell, there were sticky notes in there. My personal experience with the 3 branches, as director of migrant program, that's a federal funded program, accountability is huge. I mean, it's huge. They keep stressing, we've got to see growth, and now the extra support has to be evidence-based. And then we have the at-risk funding, again, state. This one's state, not federal. And again, there are accountability pieces to this as well. And then the local, our district policy, that keeps us within boundaries. And we had a not so great situation this year, but I did learn that our district attorney, he referred to the board policy handbook as well. So that became a very well-known handbook. I do know that we've gone through some difficult times when COVID hit. You know, we didn't understand a lot of what was put out there, but I do know that it was one of those things where we had to, even though we didn't agree with a lot of the mask mandates or this or that, at the end of the day, I believe that our state board had the best intentions that they could possibly have. They were just trying to keep our kids safe with something that was so unknown to us. The changes that I would advocate for is for building administrators to be held a little bit more accountable on the local and state assessments. I feel like since COVID hit, we've just kind of been a little bit lax, and it's time to pick it up. It's time to rebuild our expectations. What did I feel are the most important things here? As a superintendent, communication is key. Data is vital. You can't just present one-sided information. You have to present both. And to follow your policy. I feel like that's something that has been stressed really more so these past 2 years. It's the constant reminder. What does the district policy handbook say? Relevance? Well, I feel like a superintendent honestly needs to be, like I said earlier, a good communicator, and he must be, a superintendent, he or she, must have management skills and also learn to trust his staff. I feel like he or she, should be able to trust in committee leaders. The more he or she allows others to be a part of, I feel like the more there will be buy into the new ideas. My reflection, I have 2 examples. I feel like as a superintendent, I must be well informed. Research is vital, and I must provide both sides of what is researched and presented to the board. I must provide as much data as possible so accurate information is put in front of our school board members. I must provide direction, especially in the academics. I feel like the day-to-day operation, our school board does great with that. I feel like sometimes they're a little bit behind on our academics, but I don't think it's because they want to be. I think it's because they put so much trust into the administrators that, and we put so much trust into our teachers that they just feel like, they'll take care of it. And we try. And that is it. Those are my references, and you guys have a good day. Thank you.